antioxidants with a positively charged ion. Doing so allows mitochondria's negatively charged interior to attract the ion antioxidant compound. That combination also helps squeeze antioxidants through the cell's lipid membrane, which would otherwise absorb the fat-soluble antioxidants. In total, more chemicals get to where they're needed most. In the wake of Dr. Skulachov's postulation and research, such positive ion delivery vehicles were nicknamed Skulachov ions by an American scientist. Since that time, the topic has become a bit of a family affair, with a good doctor's sons getting involved. Now, although the underlying idea originated back in the 70s, it wasn't put into practice until the 1990s.
We weren't the first to apply this principle. In fact, it was Michael Murphy in Cambridge, England. He used coenzyme Q as the antioxidant. I immediately told him that it wasn't a very good choice in terms of the antioxidant. But by then he already made a lot of progress with that substance, so he just threw his hands up and told me that his investors wouldn't forgive him if he changed the substance halfway through, and said they were going to give it a shot. It takes 10 to 15 years to introduce a new medicine. Unfortunately, a lot of that time was lost, in my opinion. However, no one can deny him the honor of being the first to try out our idea.
Since that first foreign attempt to bombard mitochondria with antioxidants, Dr. Skulachov and other Moscow State University researchers have been hard at work coming up with an antioxidant and delivery system pair that shows better results. Unlike Murphy, who tried vitamin E and coenzyme Q, Skulachov and Hislop have hitched their wagon to a substance well accustomed to dealing with the buildup of lots of oxygen, plant chloroplasts. The thought being that since our green growing friends produce large amounts of oxygen, their own antioxidants must be up to the task of keeping dangerous reactive oxygen species to a minimum. The resulting compound, which they call SKQ, is reported to be hundreds of times more effective than any of the other variations dreamt up previously. Now, all this is based on the preposition that it's programmed in our genetic makeup to slowly but surely kill off our cells, and in the end, us. Disrupt that program, and you might just forestall aging.
Can our medicine succeed in extending human life? Or, more importantly, postpone the onset of aging? At least, that's what it does in animals. And we ourselves are animals. So there is a good chance. But it's not a certain fact yet. So as a scientist, I am obliged to have my doubts. What we're working on is rather a hypothesis. But we have to try. And we definitely will.
While it's difficult to test for signs of aging directly, researchers do so by monitoring changes in behavior over time. Younger, healthier rats actively explore their surroundings, but as they get older, they tend to explore less and camp out in the safest spot. Preliminary tests have shown positive results in arresting this change. More work and trials are still needed before we see an overarching fountain of youth drug like a pill or injection, but Skulachov and his team have decided to take it step by step.
We were very lucky to have discovered that one can use this substance to make eye drops, that it is efficient enough when administered topically. This makes for a much easier path to the market.
In order to commercialize the technology, a company called Mitotech was set up. Since the medicine is only dropped into the eyes, the potential adverse side effects are much smaller than with something like a tablet you take orally. Regardless, traditional tests on animals and then human clinical trials had to be passed. They received the go-ahead from Russian health regulators earlier in 2012, and at the moment they're working on having it approved by Western health agencies. The resulting eye drops are targeted at relieving chronic dry eyes. The syndrome can lead to increasingly impaired vision and in some cases eventually blindness. But these Russian-made drops are able to do much more than alleviate dry eyes.
There are techniques to find out how many cells have died as a result of apoptosis, or programmed cell death. Skulachov ions give you a totally different picture. When used extensively, they greatly decrease the number of tissue sections affected by apoptosis.
But like any true scientist, Dr. Skulachov offered himself up as the first guinea pig, even before he got the Russian regulatory green light. In my opinion, the results pretty much speak for themselves.
I'm very short-sighted. I started suffering from cataracts and I've had glaucoma for years. But as a result of using the eye drops, the cataract disappeared. My myopia dropped from -7 down to -3.5 diopters, and my eye pressure has reduced, which is a sign that the glaucoma has grown much less acute.
With Russian regulatory approval in hand, though, Mitotech has slowly but surely started getting their eye drops to market. They're attempting to go it alone without linking up with a major pharma distributor. At present, they've already sold 25,000 bottles to various pharmacies. But for these lifelong innovators, this is just the first step.
In fact, we have plans to grow into a large pharmaceutical company with a wide range of products to treat various diseases and ailments. But all of our medications will have one thing in common. That is, they will resist aging and death. This, I believe, is a noble goal.
The Skulichovs and their Mitotech team have already made a giant step in that direction. With the help of financing from Rusnano, one of Russia's biggest development funds, they recently built this brand new research and production lab on the sprawling Moscow State University campus. As the company gears up for international regulatory approvals and pushes ahead with the next generation of Skulichov ion-based medications, this state-of-the-art center will suit their needs for years to come. This lab is equipped to churn out 100 grams of the base substance every month. Now that might not sound like much, but each gram of the base molecule compound can produce 1 million eye drop bottles. But Moscow isn't the only place to turn to for big medical innovations. The city of Kazan in the Republic of Tatarstan, with its many innovation-friendly centers like the IT Park here, is out for bragging rights as well. Here, nestled amongst the hustle and bustle of many young startups, is one of the operations simulators from a dynamic local company called Aidos. Here, aspiring young medical students sit in on a blood-free operation. While books and diagrams are one thing, seeing how an operation is done and then having a go at it yourself is the best way to learn. Since students and even young doctors can't hone their skills on living and breathing patients, these robotic simulators are the next best thing. The company's ever-improving line of models includes a wide variety of different simulators ideal for practicing minimally invasive surgeries. At the institutes and clinics that have adopted the technology, the difference is evident.
We always keep a record of mistakes. Thanks to the video, we are able to follow what the student does and analyze his or her actions. It also shows the mistakes and helps us assess their possible impact on a given surgery. This exercise feels very true to life in terms of working with manipulating instruments, receiving feedback including tissue resistance, and so on. All of this enables the students to feel like a real surgeon in action.
It may sound odd, but the Himgrad Chemical Processing Complex is home to the inspiration behind those trainers. As a so-called Technopolis, resident companies like Aidos get tax breaks and other business-friendly incentives to spur on the development of new ideas and projects. Before they came out with the medical simulator you saw a moment ago, they busied themselves with a different kind of virtual reality. They developed these semitruck simulators for Russian government agencies that felt their young drivers needed more training before hitting the road. Working hand in hand with the company that supplies cargo trucks for the Russian military and emergency services ministry, Aidos takes actual cabins from KAMAZ, fits them out with hydraulic systems, and writes the programming code needed to recreate testing situations for inexperienced heavy haulers. According to company